So happy to be joined by Florida A&M head coach Robert McCullum. Good afternoon, Coach.
How are you?
Doing great, Coach, and thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule to join us. We know it's a busy time of year as you get your team prepared for the upcoming season. But, Coach, if you could please start us out with an opening statement previewing the 2022-2023 edition of the Florida A&M Rattlers.
Well, anytime you get started for a new season, it's always a time of optimism and excitement. And so still, it's nothing like the first day of classes in the fall. It's nothing like the first day of official practice, which was yesterday for us. So we open up, we're excited, we're optimistic, even given the challenges we have of trying to bring 9 new players into the fold. And we know the challenges that lie ahead, non-conference, as well as another exciting, challenging SWAC season.
Appreciate those opening comments, Coach. We're now going to open it up for questions. And the first question goes to Dr. Cavill.
This is Kenyatta, Dr. Cavill's inside the HBC Sports Lab. Good afternoon, Coach McCullum.
Good afternoon.
I want to talk a little bit about the absence of player of the year. He's moved on. In terms of your scoring, in terms of what that looks like, is that going to be a player that you're seeking to step up, or will you think you're going to get to scoring for multiple players?
I think more realistically, multiple players. And as you know, each team is different. This will be perhaps the most inexperienced team that we've had since my first year here, the 17-18 season. So, yeah, you look forward to each year from a coach's standpoint of just trying to figure out what does each team have to do to be successful offensively and defensively. And so we won't have a player the magnitude of MJ Randolph. He chose to pursue the professional route, but yet we will be more of a team that would do it, more by committee. We're capable of having, 4 or 5 guys that will average double figures, as opposed to being able to rely on a guy that we can say right now he's going to give us, 15 or the 18 a game that MJ Randolph gave us.
Thank you. In terms of that, a little more about your roster. Can you talk about some of the guys coming back that you're expecting to play big minutes versus some of those that came in to the team that you're looking forward to add to the mix?
Well, most of the prominent roles, those guys that we'll look to count on, would be newcomers. So via the JUCO route or the transfer route. And first name I'd like to talk about is Byron Smith. Byron is a junior college transfer from right here in town at Tallahassee Community College. He played in high school at PK Young in Gainesville, and then played 2 years at Southeastern Louisiana. And his Division I experience really shows. It shows from his poise, his patience. He didn't get sped up very easily, and he was an all-conference player. You make all-conference in the league with Tallahassee Community College, Northwest, Chipola, Pensacola. That's pretty impressive. And I might add that Northwest was the national JUCO champions for the 21-22 season. So Byron will play both the point guard spot, the off guard spot, and he's a guy that we'll lean on heavily for scoring and ball handling right off the bat. Then there's Jalen Bates, who's probably 6'5.5", about 210, extremely explosive player. He comes to us from Gaston Junior College in North Carolina, a startup, a new program that I think Leonard Hamilton sort of put that program on the map. Shortly after he left there, they sort of broke the mold. They closed it down. I mean, literally for 50 years. Oh, wow. And so he played there after leaving St. Pete JC, and just athleticism. And he'll defensively, athletically, he'll remind a lot of our followers of Bryce Moraine in terms of that 6'5", 6'6" range. He's 210 and he's just extremely athletic. So he'll be counted on for a lot of scoring, a lot of athleticism, which will be displayed on both ends of the floor. So those are two guys right off the bat. And a big difference in this team would be our size. We'd be more athletic and bigger, particularly at the wing spots.
Thank you, Coach. I'd like to ask one follow-up question. I will let my colleague jump in here if the time allows. I'll see if I can jump back in.
Sure. Okay.
Question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and everybody on the highest of Seven Hills are well. Life without MJ as he moves forward. Just talk about the NBA and guys have an opportunity to play from HBCUs. We've watched Earl the Pearl. We've watched Marvin Webster, a lot of guys who have come through, Ben Wallace, if you will. Just talk about HBCU guys getting an opportunity to play at the highest level.
Well, I'll very good question, James, and I'll add one a former or forever Rattler, Clement Johnson, who actually played on the World Championship Philadelphia 76ers team, I think, and they won it in '83. And so, you know, it's an area that we still, from a recognition standpoint, that we're still fighting. We talk to our players about this message, that if you can play, they'll find you, whether you attend an HBCU or not. And sometimes that message it's difficult to resonate with players because so often they're told by others that you have to play at a Power 5 conference, or you have to play in this conference or that conference to be seen. And so our response is, if the NBA teams will go to Asia, to Africa, literally all over the world, to find players, it should not be difficult to accept the fact that they'll discover you at HBCU. And it was really rewarding in Chicago at the G League Combine. Sorry, they were running a fire drill. It was just a test. Sorry about that. But in Chicago at the G League Combine and the NBA pre-draft camp, there were 3 players from HBCUs. I was MJ Randolph, and the outstanding rebounder center from Texas Southern, along with the player from Howard University. So it really made us feel good to have three players from HBCUs at that event in Chicago. And I think you're going to see more and more of that in years to come. And again, it can become a great recruiting tool, as well as just great opportunities for each individual player, each individual school that's represented.
Coach, in closing, the NIL concept and the transfer portal. In years previous, the transfer portal, guys would have to sit out and that sort of thing. But just talk a little bit about that COVID waiver, and I know we're moving forward, but the transfer portal and what that looks like, and guys have opportunities in NIL.
Well, you touched on 2 huge issues, and you know, quite frankly, here, the NIL situation, we really, unfortunately, we really haven't scratched that surface very much, and hopefully that would change. You know, because we want our student athletes to have as many opportunities as possible. From a transfer portal standpoint, you may recall here just recent, the last month, the NCAA passed new legislation, just whereby they've created windows. So in other words, players will have to make a decision in a shorter period of time. And so that will help coaches, that will help programs, just in terms of having smaller windows to make those decisions about transferring. They'll still have those opportunities to transfer and play immediately, but the windows for opportunities would be smaller. We have 2 players on this year's team. We have a transfer from Lamar and one from Brown University. And I think it's safe to say going forward, like most schools, we'll continue to look at transfer players for opportunities to come in and hopefully help right away.
Thank you, sir. Have a great season. We look forward to covering you once again.
Thanks so much, James.
Coach, we sincerely appreciate your time and good luck this season.
I think our previous caller had another question, I think.
Okay, sure. We can get one more question in. Dr. Cavill?
Thank you. I'll keep it quick. When you look at conference expansion, you get the benefit of what that brings to the table, but you also have in basketball, you have the difference of scheduling format where you don't necessarily play team twice. Last year, Texas teams came to you. This year, you come to Texas. Talk about how that works or your anticipation of going to an arena that you hadn't experienced from the previous season.
Well, for me, just given, I guess, my background, some of the schools I've been at in the past, it's very common. And so right now it sort of sticks out just because, you know, along with Bethune-Cookman, we're new to the conference. And so we didn't make that Texas swing last year. But way back when the SEC initially added South Carolina and Arkansas, I was an assistant at Florida at the time. And so we played a very similar format where you played some teams twice, other teams you played on the west side, and we were on the east, you only played once. Even at South Florida in the Big East, in Conference USA, Western Michigan, the MAC conference. So I'm very familiar with that concept. And so going to Prairie View and Texas Southern this first time around, you know, it'll be, you know, you have those challenges, and they faced those challenges when they came here for the first time this year. So, but after the 22-23 season, we would have gone to every venue in the SWAC. And so we'll have that behind us, and then we won't have to deal with that newness anymore. But until then, we'll just try and prepare ourselves as best we can for the challenges that we know we'll face at Prairie View and Texas Southern.
Thank you for that perspective, Coach. Good luck this.
Thank you so much.
Coach, again, thank you for your time and good luck this season.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.